I think clients 5 years ago had more answers. Now they have more questions. And what I mean by that is that 5 years ago, I would walk into a very established environment where the hierarchy is very clear, more or less, and the way of communications were very clear. So this is the brief, that's what you do, you get it done by that date, and then that's the job. And of course, that still exists today, but what happens today is more the question, like, how can we solve this? There's this new medium coming up, what should we do? So clients asking, should we get on TikTok? Instead of asking, like, what's my story? So there's a lot of uncertainty, even like infiltrating the client environment, which for us brings the challenge to manage that on a personal side as well. So like you rightfully said, there's an emotional side in handling the client's uncertainty that is part of our job. And that means for us in a lot of ways to dignify that process and say, like, you know what, it's okay. It's difficult for everybody to figure out. You're not alone. All your competitors having the same problem, and even the very big companies have the same problem. So first of all, it's okay to not know. It's okay to figure out. It's okay to explore. That is part of the process, really.
Hey everybody, Mark Arinsberg here with the Purenow Show. This is episode number 11. My guest today on the show is Martin Reiher. Martin is originally from Berlin, Germany, now working in Singapore. His expertise is storytelling while leveraging a multitude of relationships across multiple channels to offer his clients an expansive opportunity to tell their story in a unique way. Here we go. What were your musical influences back then?
Oh, Metallica, massively. So I was a massive Metallica fan at the time. I had long hair, I did the whole thing, played in metal bands. I was also weirdly and simultaneously influenced by a lot of film scores. So I listened to James Horner and John Williams and all the big names of that industry at the time. And that sort of gave me a lot of very, very weird influences that I still I still carry them today.
Well, that might be part of your soundscaping or creating these audio immersive environments. That must have played a factor in how you think about bringing music into the media experience.
I think so. I mean, I think I bring it into every experience. And to be honest, like what I'm doing today is completely different to composing music in a way, because now it's more about innovation. It's about change. It's about delivering creative concepts. But still, to a large degree, I'm using the terminologies from that time. So when thinking of change, for example, I'm thinking a lot about rhythm. It has to do with timing, which is extremely important in music. I'm thinking in harmonies versus balances, because I think the terminology that I learned in music lends itself to pretty much everything I do now, which is more on the innovation side of things, helping companies to build concepts towards during the transformational times that we're in. So a lot of it has to do with timing, with rhythm, creating harmonies. And I think that for me is more the commonality between the things that I used to do and what I'm doing now. So it's still very much there. I'm still feeding off these influences, but I'm translating them into different mediums and different areas.
Okay, because I know you're a strategist, you're an entrepreneur. You really have your hands into a lot of aspects of the client engagement and what your offerings are. Tell me more about what is Meesta providing that's unique, and how are you integral in this process of working with clients and delivering these interesting solutions?
Yeah, one of the things that we've noticed is that it seems like change is happening so fast today that it's difficult to keep up with everyone. So I'm 35 years old now, and if I look at what's happening on TikTok, I can see that, wow, this is so fast. It's difficult to keep up with the medium. And I think this is something that goes across industries, and a lot of people feel that. And that's because change is happening exponentially and not linear. So we're now doubling the speed of knowledge, of innovation, and companies and business models have to figure out a way to survive in this kind of environment. So what came out of that is, for us, is exactly that holistic systems thinking that I learned through my times as a musician, is to be agile and to be flexible. So what we're doing specifically is we're helping companies to find new solutions within their business model, or helping to change the business model based on the opportunities that might occur left, right, and center. And what that means specifically is that we're using design thinking principles to come up with new routes of innovation.
Singapore is really making incredible strides during this pandemic to do some really forward-thinking, like you said, this stuff has to be sustainable. So I know they're creating these new environments where they're mixing nature with different types of buildings to leverage the fact that we have, in the past we've been separating ourselves from nature, and now we're realizing that because of the threat of not being able to go out to nature because of the pandemic, that we've been bringing nature to us. And what does that look like from your perspective? I can see you have a spectacular view behind you. What are you noticing in Singapore specifically, how they are addressing this pandemic, and they have shifted their worldview, their perception, and just through absolute necessity are starting to make changes to make it better for human beings in general?
Yeah, I think this is super important what you mentioned. And Singapore is not only through the pandemic realized that this shift is necessary, they've actually been investing in sustainability and sustainability initiatives very early on. So the buildings that you've mentioned that already exist, that's intertwine nature and cityscape, they've existed for some time. Also, Singapore is really committed to the climate change goals of the SD goals. And they've developed sort of their own framework for that. So Singapore has created the Singapore Green Plan 2030, in which they very clearly put down goals that they want to achieve. And one of them is building more parks, planting trees, becoming 30% self-sufficient in terms of food, which they're going to achieve through vertical gardening. I think it was only last week or 2 weeks ago that Singapore officially started connecting the biggest floating solar panels that they have outside in the ocean. So there are a lot of initiatives that they're seriously investing in to keeping the city free from cars as well. And obviously Singapore is in a unique position to make these kind of investments because frankly speaking, the money is there, but you also see that happening. So, and this is a good thing.